Hi, friends, welcome back to Cat's Chat. I hope you're all well. I am going to do a video today on last night's Lolcow bus, but before we get into that, I just want to make it clear that although I do work with people with BPD and in the mental health field, I am not a registered mental health nurse. I cannot diagnose anybody. This is all just completely my opinions from what I've seen in my life and from what I'm seeing from Amberlynn. And if you feel you need to talk to somebody about some of the symptoms or your mental health issues, please seek out mental professional help. I'm putting a trigger warning on here because we are going to discuss borderline personality disorder and emotional abuse in relationships. So, yes, here we go. Last night, in a bout of insomnia, where I was squashed between my two cats, as you can see in this picture. Those are my legs. I had no room whatsoever to move. And I was wide awake. I decided to watch last night's Lolcow bus. And actually, it was very interesting. I saw a lot of things that I want to discuss today. So, to begin with, Amber came on there and she was already in a terrible mood. I don't really know what happened last night, but from what I got from it, she was basically just constantly being trolled and it really pissed her off. So tonight she came in with a face like thunder. She was very standoffish straight away with the guys. She's very much like, this is my show, and if this carries on, I'm not coming back. So yeah, I'm not really sure what happened before that. So I'd be interested to know if you guys know. Okay, so in this episode, Scooter kind of started like digging in a little bit into Amber about the law and about what he's found out about her. She did not like this at all. I think she hoped she would be able to keep both those worlds like reasonably apart, but I think she underestimates how much information about her is actually out there despite her deleting everything off her channel. And yeah, there's a lot of questions being asked, a lot of people coming for her now, and it's just a little bit unhinged, to be honest. But Scooter started going on her about her and her relationship with Beck and where that money went. So he was trying to ask her about 15 times, like, why she kept the £5,000 from Beck. There was a comment that said, the whole time they were sharing an account, Beck should have been saving. Has anyone asked Beck what they did to save? They had to know that arrangement wasn't going to last forever. Why is Amber's responsibility? Beck was grown. And we've talked about Beck on this channel before. Beck got 4.5 grand off Rachel recently and has, in the space of like a week, had been asking for more money and begging. Where's all this money going? And do they not have like benefits and support for people who are going through something that Beck's going through in the US? Because in the UK, you can get financial support from the government and you can have like insurance and stuff. So it does confuse me, like the math isn't mathing for me there. And we have seen in the past that Beck set up a GoFundMe for a car and spent that money on whatever. And according to Amber in this video, it was Beck's bank account. They both had access to it. And when the 5 grand went in the bank account, Beck did whatever they wanted with it. And Amber also said that she paid for Beck's bills and stuff after they separated as well for about 6 months before she stopped. Now, she says around about 40k is what Beck spent all in all. And as Amber was the breadwinner, she was paying the bills, she was paying the rent, she was paying the food, she was paying for clothes, she paid for Beck's car, and Beck just spent however much money they wanted. They would come home with loads of shopping, loads of parcels would come. So Amber doesn't seem to think it's very fair that it's all been dropped on her, that she didn't give her the money. Scooter then responded and said that that Amber didn't give Beck the $5,000 when they separated, and why she was only left with $100. To which Amber responded that yes, she made a lot of money when she was with Beck, and that they basically shared whatever was in the account, and she'd given money to Beck's family as well. And she said that, you can't expect me to pay for the bills, the rent, the car, the food, the clothes, and also give her all of the money back. Which this might be controversial, but I can kind of see where Amber's coming from there. Because as far as Amber was concerned, that money had been spent long before they'd separated. And as it was Beck's account, I don't understand how Amber left Beck with nothing when they both were in Beck's bank account. Like, that doesn't add up to me either. Please, if somebody knows more about that, please explain that to me. But in my head, I'm like, if Beck's got control of the bank account that they're sharing and it's in Beck's name, then why would Beck only leave themselves with $100? Like, that isn't adding up. A lot of this with Beck isn't adding up to me. I don't think Beck is a perpetual victim in this situation. I don't know what you guys think. I'd love to hear your opinions in the comments. Amber was also deflecting a lot with the situation with Beck. I did notice that every time Scooter asked her the same question, she was going on tangents to like something completely different. And when he confronted her about it, she got annoyed about it, and she's kind of very defensive after that. Sweet Tea was kind of defending Amber the whole time and just saying, yeah, like if they had a joint account and Beck was spending the money how they wanted, then why is Amber, after they break up from the relationship, got to give her anything? And yeah, I can see where they're coming from. And I can see where Amber's coming from as well. And maybe Beck should have been clearer about the money situation with Amber. I don't know. I just don't think Beck's a reliable source, and I don't think Amber's a reliable source, and I definitely don't think Emily's a reliable source. So I think we have to kind of look in the grey area for the truth on this one. I actually found watching Amber's deflection in real time quite fascinating. I feel like I've learnt more about her mental health in this video. What also I find interesting is I did watch the apathetic facts recap of this one, and she left out all of the Beck stuff, which is interesting. She left out the whole conversation about Beck and the money and about where the money went, or anything about Amber's version of events of that situation, and the fact that Beck was spending a lot more of Amber's money because she was the breadwinner and let Beck do whatever she wanted with the money. Again, whether that's true or not, we don't know, but I think it's interesting that apathetic facts seem to only want to spin one side of that narrative, and that Beck was the victim in this whole situation. So I just want people to be aware of how people can change the narrative or something, because that whole conversation was about at least 3/4 of an hour of the stream. So it's interesting that apathetic facts would leave any of that out. So with borderline personality disorder, deflection is a huge part of that. Diagnosed or not, it was interesting to witness it again in real time. So we're going to discuss it a little bit now. So online it says, disorder, BPD, frequently deflect, often as a subconscious defense mechanism to avoid intense feelings like shame, fear of abandonment, or criticism, using tactics like blaming, projection, splitting, all or nothing thinking, and verbal diversion to escape responsibility and uncomfortable truths about themselves, though it's usually driven by emotional dysregulation and not intentional malice. Common deflection tactics: blame shifting, pointing fingers at others for their own actions or mistakes; projection, attributing to their own unacceptable feelings or traits like anger onto someone else; verbal garble diversion, changing the subject, going on tangents, or creating verbal confusion to avoid direct answers; idealization, devaluation, rapidly shifting views of a person to avoid interrogating flaws. So in this stream, you definitely witnessed her doing that. Whether she is intentionally or not, I'm not sure. But I definitely think when she came on, she had a face like thunder. She was ready and she was angry and she's already very defensive. And I know it's a drama channel and I know they were all there to wind each other up, but I definitely feel that that was not the time to start interrogating about something because she's defensive already, if you understand what I mean. So you weren't going to get any straight answers when her defenses were that high to begin with. Scooter just kept going in on her and she was getting more and more defensive, didn't really get anywhere with it. Key takeaway: this isn't usually about deliberate manipulation, but rather a deeply ingrained, often unconscious pattern to manage unbearable emotional pain. So all of these things that people keep bringing up over and over again and repeat, like that is quite triggering anyway, I feel. Like for me personally, repetitiveness is a huge trigger because of the situation I was in. And it's super triggering to just over and over again have the same conversation over and over again. To win an argument with someone with borderline personality disorder, shift your goal from winning to de-escalating and connecting. Focus on validating their feelings, not necessarily their facts, with phrases like, I hear you're feeling angry. Stay calm, set clear boundaries, use I statements like I feel unheard when, rather than accusations, and create a space to call off if needed, reassuring them you'll return to address the deep-seated abandonment, fears, and intense emotional reactions. So I feel this is very important. It's been a very important part of the job I do when working with borderline personality, is that you don't come off confrontational. So if you say, I'm feeling a certain way, like I feel that the way you acted in this situation could have been better, rather than you need to act better. The language does change the dynamic quite a lot, and you can get people to open up more in that way. So 1, validate emotions, not necessarily behaviours. I acknowledge there are intense feelings. I can see you're very upset, without agreeing with irrational statements showing you hear them. 2, use I statements instead of you always try. I feel when behaviour because of impact, e.g. I feel unheard when I can't finish my sentence. It's very important to do that. Stay calm and avoid defensiveness. Yelling or defending yourself escalates the situation. Breathe, slow down, and speak calmly. It did get very heated, and as soon as it did, I just knew they weren't going to get anywhere with Amber in her current state of mind. 4, set firm, loving boundaries. Reassure them of your boundaries, like saying no aren't rejection, but are necessary for the relationship. So I think both Sweet Tea and Scooter need to be a bit firmer with her without making her feel unwanted. 5, create space. If emotions run high, suggest taking a break and coming back to the conversation later, which helps manage abandonment fears. So Scooter was trying to deflect with dancing and stuff like that. Amber just was not having it. A lot of that was to do with the chat going at her as well. And I just knew from that moment on they weren't going to get anywhere. You weren't going to get any answers because she was so defensive straight off the bat. Listen actively. They are sensitive to dismissal. Genuine listening and reflecting their words back, e.g., so you're saying helps them feel heard. And yes, this is also very important. So people like to feel like they're being listened to. Active listening is very important for that, especially with someone with borderline personality disorder. So if you can reiterate some of the conversation back to them, they do feel acknowledged and it de-arms the situation. Focus on feelings, not facts. Try to understand the underlying emotion, quote, fear of abandonment, rather than getting stuck on the logical facts of the moment. So that aspect kind of means that for example, if someone's going off on a tangent saying, this is annoying me, that's annoying me, I'm angry at this, that, and the other, most of the time it's not actually the case. They are just, there's something going on inside. So trying to kind of see through all of that as the emotion that's going on rather than what they're angry about actually might help them get to the core of the problem. So it is important to kind of not romanticize the things they're angry about. Be consistent and trustworthy. Predictability helps build trust and reduce anxiety about abandonment. So, what I noticed a lot in this as well is Amber saying that nobody wants her there, that nobody likes her, and there was a lot of self doubt going on, which is very common. And not that you have to mollycoddle them, but it is understanding that consistency is very important when you have a friendship or a relationship or a family member with BPD. Because in Amber's case, she went through the foster system. Her parents weren't around the whole time. She had numerous relationships that ended badly. And just to be clear, I'm not condoning any of her behaviour. Of course, she should go and get treatment, and of course, she should go and get support for her BPD and deal with this situation with a proper therapist. But I think it's interesting for us to learn what it is and how it can present itself in case you are living with someone with BPD or have had experience of a relationship with someone with BPD. I'm just hoping that some of this can give people some insight, and maybe you'll notice things yourself with her or with somebody you know, like who knows. What to avoid: invalidating phrases. Don't say "I'm sorry you feel that way," as that can sound dismissive. So yeah, I agree with that one. Again, if you just do some active listening and repeat back what they're feeling, that's very helpful. But I think this goes for most people, really. Like, you don't want to feel like you're being dismissed, or like you're not being heard by anybody when you're not feeling great, or you want to be listened to. So yeah, this is a very important one. Sarcasm or accusation. These trigger defensiveness and anger. Yes, there was a lot of accusation. Like I say, Scooter was very accusatory with Amber rather than just asking the question. He did ask the same question many times, like I say, and didn't really get a decent response. But I think the way he went about it, and with the chat having a go at her, she just felt attacked. And like I say, it probably just wasn't the right time to be doing that with her. Trying to win. The goal is connection and de-escalation, not victory. So again, like we've said before, it's very important to have your, like, validate their feelings, but have your facts there as well. So, have proof of the facts. People can't deny proof, like receipts. You can't deny receipts, right? Why straightforward answers can be difficult. Emotional intensity and dysregulation. People with BPD experience emotional intensity and may struggle to regulate them during a conversation. When emotions are running high, they may not be able to think or communicate logically, resulting in indirect and overwhelming responses. Fear of abandonment and rejection. A core symptom of BPD is an intense fear of abandonment. Providing a direct answer, especially one they fear might displease you, like saying no or expressing an unpopular opinion, can feel like a risk and could lead to rejection. To protect themselves, they might be evasive and change the topic. And we definitely saw that again in this live stream. She was very much deflecting the answers, and I think she was very worried that it was going to change everyone's opinion of her, and she was going to get constantly attacked when she came on stream. So she was trying to avoid the subject, and it was very interesting to see it, like I say, happen in real time with Amber. It's the first time I've seen it happen in real time to that extent, and I actually found it very interesting just to see the real Amber, I guess, because I feel that's what we're getting now. She can't really hide on the live stream when she's upset. So let me know what you guys think about that, because yeah, I found it very fascinating to see. difficulty with decision making. Decisions can be a problem, and the person would choose the right time, engage in important conversations when both of you are calm and not in a heat of an argument. So, like I say, when Amber came on, she was already very upset. I think Scooter had been saying something in a chat about her, so she was already like amped up, and she got him amped up before this even started. So in that situation, you're not going to have a clear conversation with anybody, to be honest. It was very much like Sweet Tea and Amber against Scooter. Be clear and direct yourself. Use clear and simple language, avoiding vague messaging or reading between the lines. State your intentions and expectations clearly. Again, he did ask the same question a lot of times. She just deflected onto different things. So he could have been a lot more clearer. He could have picked the right time, and then this whole situation would have been different for both of them. But as it stands, Amber started then laying into people in the chat that they were calling her names and horrible things. They also discussed Snowflake's latest video where he was saying that Emily has been messaging somebody in Canada or something, but who knows if that's true or not. I don't really validate Snowflake as a truthful narrator either. So, there's, I mean, I don't know what you guys think about that, but is it his business? Is it our business? I don't know. So yeah, seems like Gorlworld is kind of leaking into the Lolcow universe now. Someone called Tina had a go about Amber as well, saying that Amber's not famous and that she needs to fall in line with everybody else, etc., which Amber obviously disagreed with. Also, the impression I was getting from Amber is that when she agreed to come on here, Keem told her that they wouldn't be bringing up her past and instead, be moving on to something different, but she would have to answer some questions. But she said the last couple of days, it's literally just been constantly going on and on and on about things that happened in her past. And then now it's like the situation with Beck and the money. She doesn't really know what's going on, so I don't know whether Keem actually said that or not. He hasn't said yes or no, but she was very upset in this live stream, and whether she comes back or not, who knows, to be honest. I'm interested to know what you think about the whole Beck and the money situation. My personal opinion is, if all of Amber's money was going into Beck's bank account, then Beck should have worked out how to save the money. Beck said Amber was in control of all the money, but I don't really understand how that can be true if it was Beck's account. But let me know in the comments what you think about that. I also feel with the fake GoFundMe and the constant begging on her channel, and she got 4.5k from Rachel, which doesn't make up for Amber potentially owing that money, but she's more than made up from it and has used Amber as a way to make money ever since they separated. So where's the line? Where's the line there? And if indeed Amber was paying all the bills, the rent for the car, the food, the clothes, everything like that, and if she was paying Beck to be on her channel, then surely that money would have gone into the joint pot, right? So Beck could have taken that money, and Beck could have taken their inheritance money. So if Amber was still paying long after they separated, then that 5k technically is gone, right? Because it went on things Beck wanted, and also because Beck wasn't earning any money, it would have gone on having a roof over their head, etc., right? So I kind of feel when they separated that Amber doesn't owe Beck money. That's how I'm seeing it. I don't think Amber owes Beck the 5 grand, because Beck was spending money like it was going out of fashion. Like I say, in this live stream, Amber said it was around 40k before she left, and then she was still paying for things long after. So as far as I'm concerned, unless she specifically put that money to one side, it was gone, right? I would love to hear your opinion on that in the comments. And again, Beck made a GoFundMe for their car, got loads of money, and didn't even spend it on the car. So that's another thing. Like, Beck's already lied to the audience. And the situation now with Beck, with them being in and out of hospital and being so poorly, but not showing receipts, we'd respect receipts from Amber, right? In this situation, you want to see medical documents, this, that, and the other. But with Beck, we've seen one photograph and several monologues, but we don't really know what's going on, and people are just handing Beck thousands and thousands of dollars when they need to start looking after themselves. So I can kind of see them expecting Amber to look after them and paying for everything, because it's coming across like the current situation with Beck and Beck's illness and hospitals and stuff, that they're expecting the community to fund their life and keep their head above the water. So yeah, I mean, Beck's not a reliable source, I feel, and like I say, it was just so weird watching the apathetic facts and them not mentioning any of this part of it, just the bits that made Amber look worse. And like I say, when you're getting one side of a story in that situation, then you can see why the hate for Amber has been fueled so much with the reaction channels, because not that I'm saying she's a great person in any way, shape, or form, but it was interesting to see that happen and those bits to be deliberately left out of the replay. So I'm very interested to know what you all think about this, and sorry it was a bit of a tutorial as well, but I think it's very important to get some facts in there about the BPD condition so we can make our minds up for ourselves what we think is going on. So I want to go back to the drama triangle we did in another video about the reaction channels. So at the moment, Amber sees herself as the victim, and I believe that Keem at the moment is the rescuer, because Keem is the one who's brought her into a brand new community where she felt that she could start as a new person and all of the other stuff would go away. So, and that's another thing with BPD as well, is that they're very good at doing that, like trying to give two different stories to different people, because then that way they control the narrative of who they are. But it seems to be leaking both worlds into one now, which she can't control. So this is going to shift very quickly. And the persecutor, it's all the reaction channels, and Scooter seems to be a persecutor at the moment. And basically anybody who's listened to Girl World and is asking Amber questions is the persecutor. So I'm very interested to see how that triangle shifts in the future, where this is going to go for Amber, because it's been two days in a row now she's been bombarded. One of the comments I will say, Beck made a big mistake not keeping the 5k in a separate account. Actually, they shouldn't have told Amber anything about the money. I do hope they learn that lesson. Always have your own stash. And yeah, I think if you're married and been with someone for years and say you own a house together, having a joint account, absolutely. But to be with someone in that relationship and asking Amber to put their money in her account is like reads totally different to me to what we're being told, right? Because if it was Amber saying to Beck, put all your money in my account, I can see where all this is coming from. But it was Beck's account. So what was the reason behind that? Why would Beck ask her to do that? It just, yeah. The math ain't mathing for me, guys. Whew, so yeah, that was a lot. I've thrown lots of pictures of my own kitties in here just to soften the blow of this video. I am very intrigued to know what you all think. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so, so much. If you have made it to the end, please leave a heart emoji in the comment section so I know that you've watched it all the way through. I just like to see how many people stay engaged with me waffling on. And remind me to never ever watch a Lolcow stream again for as long as I live. It was a lot. I definitely felt like mind numbed. I feel like I've lost brain cells, but I am in a way glad I did it because, like I say, apathetic facts version of events were a little bit different to what actually was said, and they edited it in such a way. So I am glad I did see it for myself this time. And yeah, please remember to like and subscribe to my channel. I would absolutely love to have you here. And I will see you all in the next one. Thank you very much. Bye.